Hey guys,
Picture.
do we all still have half hour for today's meeting?
More like 20 minutes.
More like 20 minutes?
Yeah,
Alright, I
it's
can
been a
give
busy
the
day.
modified version. I'll keep the small talk to a minimum here.
Okay.
But did everybody have a nice weekend apple picking?
Great.
Yeah, I did.
Did any of that?
Alright, so I'd like to just start by asking a couple questions about the organization, get a little familiar with yourselves, share a little bit about ITS with you guys, and then is there anything that you guys are looking to get out of this meeting? Questions, topics you'd like for me to cover here?
Well, we're hoping that based on the phone call, you're going to wow us with some information. So I'll leave that up to you.
All right. So just before we get into the questions, just briefly who ITS is. We're a wholly owned subsidiary of Xerox. What that means is, how we're positioned against our competitors is we're able to provide you the best of both worlds in the sense that we're backed by a global giant in the industry, but at the same time what you're getting is the local aspect of the partnership. Okay, so we have our own executive team that's headquartered in Canton, along with our parts, services, supplies, all of our resources, the warehouse, everything out of our Canton headquarters, the call center as well. So you're just getting that local touch, local presence, just gives us the autonomy to really service and support you guys better. Okay, so what we do is we really specialize in workflow efficiency. Okay, so that's from creation to destruction of a document, as well as beginning to end of a workflow. Okay. So I just want to kind of jump into asking you guys a couple of questions and seeing where we might be able to help. All right?
Perfect.
Okay. So, Joe, I just jotted down some questions prior. Is that?
Yeah.
Okay. I see that you've been with the organization for about 14 years now. What other positions have you held with the organization, and how's that experience helped you perform as a CFO today?
Yeah. Well, geez, flies by, 14 years. So started off as just kind of a finance associate. Was in that role for probably 3 years. Then got a promotion to finance manager, and then spent another, maybe 5 years in that role, and then took on the CFO role back in 2013. That adds up.
Sounds
It's all a blur. But it's a great company to work for. We've been doing really well, and I've had the opportunity to grow here, which has been great.
Sure. So what have you, from kind of working your way up the organization, how has that helped you, in your role and to be able to perform as the CFO? What have you taken away from some of the other roles that you had?
I think I started from the bottom, and so you learn, all the intricacies of the business, how the company operates.
Some of the day-to-day problems that some of the other end users now might have, and how to kind of communicate with them, maybe.
Yeah, I think obviously a lot of things have changed over the 14 years I've been here, but I think I have a pretty good grasp of who we are as an organization, and being here for that long has given me that ability, and it's very beneficial.
Very good. And Mike, you're one of the original 4 employees here of ABC Circuits. What critical processes have you implemented over the years?
well, as you know, we do a lot of government work. So it's really important that we operate under their guidelines and pay strict adherence to those regulations.
Wonderful. And how have you kind of built those guidelines to ensure compliance?
Well, we have a pretty good process in place. Challenges to keep up all the changes with the governments, the different governments that we deal with. It's not just the United States, so it's quite a task.
Okay. Is it a manual process or?
No, it's for the most part. We sometimes have to communicate using paper, but for the most part, it's a digital process.
It's a digital process. Now, was that something that you implemented?
No, the government tells us what to do. We kind of have to follow we have limited choices once they give us the regulations.
All right, and Steve, just how have you collaborated with both of these gentlemen here to improve some of the efficiencies of their respective departments? Being the CIO, what have you done with technology to help them?
Well, I think a lot of it, just Mike just briefly touched on, was that we try to go more digital, try to go less and less paper, just to make sure that we're in compliance with all the government regulations, and any time that they come in and possibly audit, what we've been doing to make sure that we're meeting all the guidelines. We need to make sure that we have everything easily accessible, and that's something that I think we've taken on as a big challenge, but we've been pretty successful in that arena.
And what system are you currently using to easily track these guidelines and responsibilities?
We have a software that we use now called
Tier. That's needs to be worked on.
What, are you having some issues with it?
Yeah, like everything, most of the things we do around here, it falls on Steve's plate to get it up and running. So I know his team is working on developing and correcting some of the tweaks to the security leaks that we've had.
Okay. What is your team focused on right now to kind of shore up those leaks?
I mean, we're to be honest, we're pulled in a lot of different directions, and it's always trying to find the time to work on the initiatives that we've put forth. Is a little bit challenging. Get kind of caught in the day-to-day, and sometimes get lose a little track of what the end goal is. But we're kind of in a flux period right now of how we want to take the current system that we have and possibly either increase some more, put some more funds into it, and give us a better opportunity to make sure that we never have any other issues. But like I said, sometimes it's the time to put in that and to plan around that is a little taxing.
Sure. And before we move on from that, I just want to clarify: are you guys at risk of losing any of your contracts because of these leaks, or and facing any potential fines? Or
We just had a fine. Was it last year?
Yeah.
It was $100,000. And obviously as the CFO, I don't like to see that, but Steve's kind of heading this initiative here.
Okay, very good. Joe, what's your long-term vision for the organization, and how have you helped drive the culture?
I mean, I think we've done a good job. I think we're a pretty tight-knit group for all the offices we have. Management travels quite a bit. We're in a number of the Massachusetts offices here, and then we travel down to DC.
It's just the 4, correct?
Yep.
Right
And,
now,
we're looking to open another office within the next year. Just gotta pick the location still. And
Are you guys looking to maybe move to the West Coast or have another
we're
office
thinking
here? On this?
abroad. Yeah,
Oh.
maybe
Okay.
over in London actually.
That
But
might present some linguistics challenges at that point, maybe.
yeah. I mean, we're definitely we have quite a few bilingual employees here. So yeah, I mean that's.
I think England still speaks English though, right?
You do.
Well, I
There's
mean-
quite a bit of.
Yeah, no, I know that's a problem. Just curious.
All right, and Steve, obviously the government being primary client, we just touched upon really all the compliances and the breaches, so I think I've really got that covered for now as a preliminary. So that was one of my next questions for you, but I think we can kind of approach that at a later date when we want to get a little bit more in depth. Is that fair?
Yeah,
That's
yeah, no, I
more
just,
in-depth
yeah,
on.
just definitely, yeah.
All right, and Mike, how are you leveraging AI and 3D printing today in your operation process?
In terms of what?
In terms of what percentage of your building of these boards are used with AI? Is it a physically manual process? Do you have more robots? Are you going to 3D for more of your pilot pieces?
Well, I don't know how familiar you are with the industry, but it's standard circuit board. We build them here. We have a few robot portions of sections of the factory, but we have one factory that's in Andover, and they're building them.
Is there any part of that process that you're really focused on and trying to improve?
That is not one of the 2018 initiatives. I mean, I think I think the success that we've had, we've got government contracts coming in from around the world that'll pretty much guarantee that over the next 5 years we'll grow at least 10% in each one of those years. So things are good with the product. We're one of two companies in the entire world that make our circuit boards, so right now we're doing well.
That's good to hear. So you're pretty happy with the status quo, is how I understood that. You're very happy with your process.
Yeah, status quo means growth, yes. We're very happy with that.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So when building a product, having measurable goals is pretty critical, I would assume.
Mm-hmm.
Joel, what role do metrics play for you day to day when reviewing the makeup of these products and the efficiency, revenues, ROI?
Well, I think as the CFO, obviously I'm looking to, our margins to be as high as possible. You want to be as efficient as possible. In cost savings is always great, but I think we're doing well where we're growing enough where money is not an object. We're willing to make certain investments to continue to grow. So that's really an initiative for us, is to keep growing and open up another office or 2 offices or whatever it may be. But I mean, the goal is always to grow and make more money.
Sure. So right now you guys feel that you're just running fairly efficient, but that you'd be open to learning about other ways to really maybe tighten the ship or
Always
reduce costs in other areas?
Definitely.
Okay. Got a couple of jump ball questions here for you guys. Whoever wants to take these really can. Right the first time when we're talking about production and manufacturing, all my clients in your industry, all your peers, really talk about this, is getting the product right the first time and not having mistakes. How have you guys reduced errors?
in what sense?
Making sure that you don't have, the product gets out the door and it works. There aren't recalls, things like that.
Well, we've got several layers of quality that we follow. We've got inspections going on throughout the whole process. It doesn't leave here. I don't know how much you know about where our circuits go, but they're in explosive devices, so we don't have a chance to make an error. So it doesn't leave here until it's certified. So
walk me through that testing process.
Well, as the product is being made, it has to go through, and we'll take samples. Each one has to be certified, so it goes through electronic testing, and if that fails, it's always the problem of Steve. So Steve's wears many hats around here, and it's his job to make sure that process works, that we are able to report any flaws, that we can track a single device to anywhere in the world, and those things that Steve is responsible for.
Very good. Do you have anything to add on that, Steve, and how, there might be ways to, shorten up the time to follow that process and
Yeah.
get product to the field quicker? And
Yeah,
more accurate?
we're just we're running really lean right now. So our time. And I briefly mentioned this before. Our time that we have in the day with the team that I have, the hats that I wear is reflected among my team members too, where they're feeling they have to juggle a lot of different things that take them away from our initiatives. And at the end of the day, we have things that we have to meet, standards we have to meet, and code we have to meet. And if those aren't met, our doors are closing. But at the same time, we're pulled in other directions where.
So what are some of the things that are taking up your team's time that's really causing you not really focus on your core competencies?
Well, I think something that at least our pre-meeting notes that we had about this, some of the areas that you can definitely help us within our print environment. That there's definitely some areas that a lot gets put on our shoulders, rightfully so. It's technology, but seems like we have more important things to be worrying about than getting help desk calls and that sort of stuff and how much time we probably spend in that. I don't even know if we have a metric on that.
Yeah, you okay? I was going to ask
I
if
don't
you
even know
could
if you have a
estimate.
metric on that. But that's just something that when you're in it on a day-to-day basis, those things that really you roll your eyes at because you're like, it's happening again. Why are we dealing with this? We have a couple different vendors in here for that arena too, which causes some issues too. Making sure that we have the right service provider in here to fix if there's ever any downtime on a machine. That's important to our day-to-day structure. So those are just two things that popped into my head.
Is there any positional gap, any areas that you guys are understaffed? Like as you said, you are really running lean. Where could you use additional resources?
I'm just thinking the IT department, to be quite honest.
I didn't really realize the IT department was understaffed. Is that the case?
Yeah. I mean, we try to make the most out of it.
I mean, you do a good job because I don't really see a lot of the bleeding, but interesting.
Well, and I'm not just assuming that you guys are understaffed. It's just knowing that you run lean. Is there an area where you would really like to grow and maybe not be so lean?
Well, I can tell you from operations standpoint, it's not something I want to see my CIO walking around my offices with toner cartridges in his hand, and that seems to be happening more and more. And I know finance has been complaining about the 1,000 invoices that they get from all over, from Staples and WB Mason, and there's just no order there. So maybe there is something that. Would you agree? Is that?
Yeah.
I mean, they're responsible for the help desk, so they're dealing with that, and I guess that's not where I want to see Steve today.
Just lastly, is there any part of the process where you guys feel vulnerable or cumbersome, or that might just be cumbersome with all the paperwork? Something that we might be able to, is this just a burning topic that you'd like us to maybe investigate first?
Well, I think, again, we got fined last year. I don't want that to happen again. I mean, we're doing well, but if we're being irresponsible and leaving, secure documents or whatever it is,
Yeah.
we just can't have that happen. It's just not good for the organization as a whole.
Okay. All right. Well, I think it's gives me a really great understanding of your organization and some of the challenges you guys face today. I think that's something that if you guys are willing to, we'd be happy to help. So before that, I think I want to make sure that our process is going to be centered around ensuring that you guys don't face any more fines, okay? That you're in compliance, and you know, that you don't lose any contracts from it. You know, I know that you guys are 1 and 2 in the industry with only 2 competitors, but you start seeing more and more fines, some of those contracts could go away. So there's some risk to that. So that'll be really the focus around here, making sure that you're not walking around changing toners. That really shouldn't be your core competency. Focusing on this, improving some of those processes, and being able to look at metrics. I've asked a couple questions around metrics because really that's where our process comes in, and what that defines. So I'll really talk about us as an organization and what we've developed here to really give us those metrics. Your operations process, you've got down to a T. You guys are talking about your order to ship time. Again, first time right. So what we've done is we've spent $250 million, excuse me, to develop this mapping application. So our process is really just a multi-source approach where we come in and we use an auditing tool, okay? FM audit. It's an application that resides on the network, all right? And it just goes out and pings out all the printers in the environment, okay? And Scott, so that's something that you and I will be working together.
So how does that, is that communicating on just how are we loading that?
Yeah, it's a simple download to the server,
Okay.
and what it goes out just pings
on our internal
on your internal network.
What can you see on it?
Just make, model, serial, and usage reports, toner alerts, levels, things like that. Some
Okay.
basic information. So Scott, would I work with you to get that installed as the first step?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like a little bit more information on it, which we can discuss. But yeah, definitely be the point of contact for that, for loading that,
Okay.
and getting that set.
Perfect. So I would say that is we'll kind of shore up some of these dates here moving forward.
Yeah.
So what we do here is we have that one source of the information on the network, and then we actually go out and physically do a walkthrough of your environment, capturing all of the output devices as well as input devices. If you have scanners, fax machines, copiers, printers, everything kind of plotted here. It isn't necessarily a live look-in, but when we couple pulling into the FML audit report, we can see this. We can select a printer and see whose printer that is based on the naming convention we give while we're going around doing the work. I think we have some pictures here that we can take, kind of really get to know and understand why there might be redundancy and printers next to each other. Understand, again, that workflow of the application there. So at that same time, we're working with the finance team, so we'll be working with you as well, Joe, to understand and gather all the costs associated with the print environment.
Mm-hmm.
So is there somebody on your team, or should I work directly with you on that?
I can have somebody do that for me. I can get it, everything.
Who would you say would be the best on your team to? I know you can connect me with them, but just so.
I mean, I'm all over the place, but Priest is in the office.
Okay. So I will. I'll have you connect me with her.
Yeah. We
awesome.
can do that before they leave.
Yeah, that's even better.
Just tell me what you need.
Perfect. So at the end of this, we pull all this information together. We sit back here at the table with you, and we just co-author a solution to, understand where we can tie this back into reducing fines, taking printers off your plate, eliminating help desk calls, and allowing you guys to focus on some of the core competencies. So, other than that, the only thing I have left here is to schedule the date of the walkthrough, which probably take, based on the size of the facility, maybe an hour or two. I don't know if you want to walk around with me or have someone on your team.
Either I will at least start off, and then maybe pass it on to someone if I have some meeting or something going on, just to make sure that we go around. Also, so that you're just not walking around aimlessly around the office. We'll make sure you can be as efficient as possible in your time. So
okay. Next week, next Tuesday, Wednesday, better for you?
Probably Wednesday. In the afternoon. I don't have anything going on in the afternoon on Wednesdays.
Me either.
Yeah.
All right, no problem. And I'll ask Preeta today, but I'm sure she won't be able to get. It might take a week or two to give the cost. So as long as we have those for before the second walkthrough,
Okay.
I'll be able to come back out and do that second walkthrough.
Okay.
2 weeks here, and we will actually load FM audit. I'll get you the white papers now, but we'll load FM audit prior to starting that walkthrough.
Okay.
So I'm gonna put that for next Wednesday. Actually, next Tuesday. I gotta send it to you then. We just need it to be pulling for 24 hours, so I
Yep.
can tie everything
fine.
together here.
And do you guys, I mean, is this, I'd assume since you've created this, is this software, like, you know, what, are you using it at other, you know, businesses that have
Yeah,
a lot of different secure issues or?
absolutely. And the white papers will show you everything. I
Okay.
mean, we work with the federal government. It's on Air Force One.
Okay.
So there's no real security questions here. Banks, everything, you name it. So we'll reconvene in a month to go over the findings and validate all the information. So I'll send a tentative date for 1 month out from now and make sure that works for everything for everyone. And then finally we can bring you in to do a demo. That'd be great. You guys can see the products, see the solutions that we discussed there in the validation. You guys good with that? Comfortable? Any
Yeah.
questions there?
Yeah.
No? All right. I will leave this for now. I think I have a really good idea of where we can help. So without further ado, I'm going to put my initial on here because this just keeps me honest. Joe, since you are my main point of contact here, and again, I appreciate you taking me in. I just asked you to throw an initial on that, again, just to keep us both honest to the timeline
This
and
is-
ensure.
Is this a contract?
No, nothing binding. Again, it's just to keep both parties, in line with the project.
Alright.
Thank you, sir.
Perfect.
All right. Well, I appreciate the time, gentlemen.
Thank you,
Alright.
sir.
All right.
Thank you.